We talk about the new Honda Civic and the Lexus RX. We also look at 2015 results for owner satisfaction next on Talking Cars. Hi everybody, welcome to Talking Cars with Consumer Reports. I'm Tom Muchler.
I'm Gabe Shenhar.
And I'm Jake Fisher.
Recently we've been getting a lot of messages that sound like this one. What are your thoughts on the 2016 Civic? It seems like Honda's done a Hail Mary on the car to bring it back to respectability, and other publications are already calling it a winner. As an unfortunate former owner of a 2012 Civic, I want to know what are your first thoughts on the new 2016 and which versions would you most likely test? Well, one version is parked right behind us, isn't it, Gabe?
He's absolutely right. Honda is giving us a big apology for the previous generation here with this much more stylish, much more substantial Civic. And yeah, here we have the LX, which accounts for a lot of the sales, but we're also going to buy the EXT with the 1.5 liter turbo engine.
Yeah, because it's Honda's first turbocharged engine. Acura did have a turbo in the RDX, but this is the first one sold here branded as a Honda.
Right.
So that small displacement 1.5 liter turbo is kind of going to be an interesting engine.
Absolutely.
Your thoughts, Jake?
Well, look, I mean, if you look back at many of the previous generations of Civic and you go side by side, it's kind of like, what was the redesign? You know, I mean, it's like they kind of inched along. There really wasn't a whole lot of changes. I mean, there was styling changes, but you know, every 2 or 3 years they make styling changes too.
Sure.
This was a real big departure. I mean, this car drives differently. It looks very different, and it's a very different platform. And again, engines. I mean, really a big departure. And when you look actually at a lot of Japanese cars, it's kind of hard to find the real redesign, right? And we call them a redesign when the 5 years comes up or whatever, but really there's also so much carryover. So this is a big moment.
Right, and I mean, you know, John, our reader, mentioned this, you mentioned this. It does feel like Honda is atoning for previous sins. I mean, that 2012 to 2015 generation was a sad and pathetic car.
It was.
I mean, the 12 was just really...
It wasn't that horrible.
It was pretty bad.
I mean, look,
it was pretty bad.
It wasn't very competitive with the set.
It felt cheap.
It did, but despite that, it was amazing. It sold like 300,000 a year.
Well, they put money on the hood.
One of the
well, and that's a rare
compacts.
thing for Honda. But I mean, no, it wasn't great, but there certainly were a whole lot better vehicles. Yeah.
No, this car it's like night and day. I mean, it feels like a substantial and a fairly premium car.
No, it's going to be fully competitive in the class. I mean, of course, it's jumping into the class when you have a brand new Elantra and Chevy Cruze coming as well. So it'll be interesting in that segment.
I mean, that's the thing about this class is that it used to be, well, okay, you know, it's compact cars. You don't have money for something bigger, or it's your first car, or you know, it used to be sort of penalty boxes, sort of making apologies for this segment. But some of these cars are becoming extremely substantial and impressive cars. It used to be the only car in that class that was like that was the Golf.
Well, because it's a world car. You know, I mean, what happened is the American vehicles in that segment that we have in our domestic market have become world cars. I mean, the rest of the world, a vehicle in that size is a family car. It's a family car, exactly. In this market, it's been the Cavalier, the Cobalt. It's something that they try to sell it for 16 grand, you know. And
for 15 years without updating it. Yeah.
Right, it was, you know, you lose money in every one, you make it up in volume, right? I mean, it never worked. And there was a conscious change where they kind of departed from this like bargain basement, just put out a bunch of junk, to something that was, you know, okay, it's okay to sell a Dart or a Cruze or a Focus at $22,000 with decent content.
Another development is that traditionally you never had the subcompacts in the U.S. market. Now you have Honda Fit, and you have
You're right.
Scion IA, and a bunch of sub-small cars that cost $16,000 and $17,000. So that allowed for the compact class, which are now priced at $21,000, to really grow and get more mature.
But I mean, that's one of the things I really notice when I'm sitting in this Civic driving it, that this feels like I'm driving an Accord. I mean, size-wise at least. It feels like I'm driving an Accord from 10 years ago. I mean, the other side of the car is way over there. I mean, it feels big. There is a lot of rear seat room in this car. You know, these are spacious cars. And you have the new Hyundai Elantra, which it feels like it's going to be a very premium car. You have the new Chevy Cruze. Everyone is trying to hit above the weight class here.
Yeah, one thing that strikes me as odd with this Civic, I mean, they made it lower. I mean, to begin with, the previous Civic was one of the lowest cars in the class, and at least around here, I mean, most of the people I see driving Civics are elderly people, and they need something that's more handy to get in and out of.
Yeah. I have plenty of 20-something friends who drive Civics. I guess it's who you hang out with, Gabe.
Yeah, I guess.
Sorry, you're running with the older crowd. So sorry.
Well, let me ask a question. Is it that these cars are growing up, or is it they're just replacing the other vehicles? So is this a 10-year-old Accord? Is a Fit the old, Civic DX hatch? Is it just that they're replacing each other going up market?
It might be.
It's a little both, honestly,
yeah,
right?
It might be. No, that's.
A new Cruze is basically an old Malibu, right?
Yeah, and I bet you, you jump into this, from this Civic back to a 10-year-old Accord, you're going to say the Civic's probably a better car.
Sure.
Overall, it may be. You certainly have, more advanced safety. Honda's getting better with road noise isolation.
Yeah. Well,
better. I'm not saying it's fixed yet.
No, way more crash protection, more technology, more connectivity, all the things that people want now.
Yeah, people expect it nowadays in a modern car, and the Civic looks to be extremely competitive.
Right.
I'm not thrilled that it has a CVT, but that's Honda. That's where Honda went these days. So,
And Honda is not alone. Nissan,
certainly not.
Toyota to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So again, it's what Honda had to do, because the Civic sells well. It had a good reputation. They needed to make a big move, and they did. A company that it sort of looks like they made a big move, but they really didn't, is Lexus when they redesigned the RX. Jake.
It's sure. It's really interesting. It's one of the early press that came out of this vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm almost stealing your thunder because this is your diatribe.
No, it's my rant. Yeah.
It's a bit brilliant. So what Lexus has done, and we've seen this not just on this car, but some other ones, they go out to the buff books and they go out in the press fleets and they put in these high performance versions of these Lexus cars. So it's the F Sport RX, or it's the F Sport, or the
F Sport IS.
The IS, exactly. Mm-hmm. So everyone goes out and drives these cars. They're like, wow, what a huge departure that, now they're finally getting sporty and it's the new X5.
They're just like the Germans. It's
right.
Great.
And they bring everyone out to a racetrack and they're driving around these RXs like every RX buyers aren't taking these at racetracks.
No.
And they drive around, they're like, wow, it's sporty. And then we get these same press vehicles early and we pay for them and we drive around and we're kind of, really? They're really doing this with it? Because while they do handle better, they don't have a lot of steering feel. They got good grip, but they ride really badly.
Yeah, they're pretty stiff.
So when we actually bought our RXs and we got a hybrid and we got the normal 350, we were like, oh, no, they didn't. They just did it the F Sport. And they sell like a handful of these F Sports. Everyone's buying these main ones, and they drive just like the old one. Never fear. It drives, it's soft, it's comfortable, it's quiet. It does what put the RX on the map, and why the RX is the best seller.
So you have the review that's done by the Buff Book based on the pre-production early cars, which were the F Sports, and you get all the plaudits for it driving, sporty and all that. Meanwhile, everyone who buys a normal one,
they get what they're expecting.
They get what they've been expecting since the thing went on sale in 1999, basically.
Right. They pander to the buff books, and that kind of helps give the car a certain aura out there in the public view.
Right.
And then the regular car is just like same as it's ever been.
But it's brilliant because they didn't screw it up like they did the Avalon.
Right.
The Avalon, they actually changed the car. And then everyone buying Avalons, the Avalons they rode bad. And you buy an Avalon because it's
Although to be fair, they
comfortable.
now fixed it for
They finally fixed it. But
better.
I feel sorry for everyone who bought an Avalon in the last
from
couple of years.
13 to 15,
Totally.
It's a pretty stiff riding car.
Right.
But the RX isn't. It's quiet.
It's quiet. It rides comfortably. The only thing is that there's some disconnect between the way the car looks and the way the car drives.
Well, it looks angry.
It looks intimidating and angry.
Mean.
I think it's going to eat the Civic, actually. It looks like it's growling at it.
They make plenty of Civics. We can replace.
Yeah, I mean the whole styling to me looks like it almost looks like you took a piece of paper, you wrinkled it, and you see what came out. Because all kinds of creases, all kinds of lines that just don't gel into any coherent design here.
Well,
No.
everyone wants to be seen as driving this sporty, edgy vehicle, but really a lot of people just want to drive something that's
Cushy and
quiet and cushy and just effortless. And it is. And well, there's one effort.
No, there's a big effort.
There's big
inside,
effort, and
yes.
it's the infotainment system.
Yeah.
And oh boy.
Yeah, the Lexus mouse controller is not getting better with time.
Right. So they have this mouse controller where you move around and you like snap it to the different things, and it snaps and you could feel it. It started out not bad, and I know. Well, I mean, not all of us totally agree on this, but I mean, originally it wasn't bad because you had like
It wasn't bad,
you had
no.
4 little chiclets, and you could. Now they're just trying to put more and more stuff into it, and there's like 17 little chiclets.
No, the problem is when you're trying to line things up within
Right.
the right row of 5 while you're
Yes.
driving the car, and every time you try to push down, it skitters off, and they put an inner
Yeah.
key which
Yep.
only works half the time.
and you push it down, but when you push it down, you wind up moving it to another chiclet,
Right.
and it's
Yeah,
just
it's easy to overshoot where you
Yes.
want to be, and yeah, there's a lot of eyes off the road and hand off the wheel. With that.
otherwise it's so effortless. Otherwise the car is just like
yeah, because
so
you still
easy.
have a 3.5 liter V6.
Works nice,
Which
it's got
works nice. The
torque.
hybrid is nice. It's
Very quiet. Yep.
just they messed up the controls, and it looks angry.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Cars like that Lexus RX, they have a lot of satisfied owners. People tend to like big luxury SUVs. People tend to like Lexuses. We have a lot more information, though, about owner satisfaction. We have the results of our 2015 owner satisfaction survey. One of the interesting tidbits out of it are the least satisfying cars by
Yeah.
category.
Yep.
Those are the Kia Rio, the Jeep Compass and Patriot, the Hyundai Veloster, the Nissan Quest, Mercedes-Benz CLA, the Nissan Altima, and the Nissan Frontier. A lot of Nissans.
There are quite a bit of Nissans. I mean, owner satisfaction, so I mean, this isn't something that we're determining, right? This is what we ask owners of these vehicles, and we ask them, if you have to do it all over again, would you do it again? Would you buy the same car again? And these vehicles that you mentioned, I mean, these are people, they were disappointed in their purchase, and it's
Which is a shame,
which is
honestly.
kind of a high bar, because I mean,
Yeah.
people put a lot of effort into researching these things, and I think what it is, it really comes down to the disconnect between what they thought they were going to get and what they really get. And when you talk about the RX, I mean, yeah, people like this because they know what they were getting. They want to get something really comfortable and quiet, and boy, it really serves that up. Some of these vehicles, and Nissan is an interesting one because I mean, we've been reporting for years about Nissan sliding in terms of performance and reliability, and to a lot of people, Nissan it's another Honda and Toyota, in terms of reliability.
Exactly,
And
yeah.
but it's not anymore.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I mean, it used to be interchangeable. You're buying a Nissan, okay, so it's probably going to have the same reliability as a Toyota and a Honda. And it's going to be bulletproof, right? And lo and behold, the last couple of years, ever since Nissan's been on a roll with introducing more and more models quicker, we've seen that reliability of Nissan has declined.
Well, I mean, some of it is, we talked about it on the reliability show, some of it was the introduction of a new family of CVTs, of continuously variable transmissions that just really didn't work out too well. I mean, also, some of these cars were, you compare to the other cars in the class, and like an Altima feels kind of cheap, it feels kind of thin, it feels kind of decontented. I mean, there are a bunch of Nissans, not only these, but there's a bunch of other really low-rated Nissans for owner satisfaction. Infiniti Q50, the Juke, the Versa Note. I mean, there's a lot of Nissans languishing at the bottom.
I mean, the Q50 is, again, going back to that expectation.
Sure.
So, I mean, the G37, G35, G37,
that delivered exactly
that
what
delivered.
you
That was a
promised.
very impressive vehicle. I mean,
Right.
it was very highly rated from us. We really enjoyed driving the car. It was very sporty. And then they went to the Q50, which is again this replacement small, BMW 3 Series fighter, and it just didn't deliver.
Right.
And when you go from you redesign a vehicle and it just doesn't live up to its last generation, you're not hitting expectations.
Right, because I mean the Q50 is neither sporty, which Infiniti built a reputation for being
Sure.
sporty, and it's not all that luxurious. But another car in that same vein
And
on
the
this
infotainment system
is a
disaster.
It's a mess.
Right.
Yeah.
Another car that from this list that sort of fits not meeting expectations is that Mercedes-Benz CLA.
Yeah.
Completely, yeah. I mean,
Right.
that whole class of entry-level luxury is shows up very low, with the exception of the Audi A3.
Yeah, which is
but
curious.
yeah, I think people are going in expecting a luxury car in a smaller package. What can be better than that? Because I don't need a whole lot of room and a huge car. And then they end up getting a car that's rides stiffly and is noisy, and that's just
It bears little relation to its siblings. You know, I mean, I remember when the first, what was it, the CLA first ad came out. It was a Super Bowl ad, and the thing's like, wow, for $30,000.
$29,900.
And it looks great. It looks great. I mean, it looks like an AMG version of the C-Class or something. It looked awesome. And then you get into it, and they don't advertise the fact that, yeah, it's got nothing to do with the C-Class. It's a front drive, economical platform that's just kind of guzzied up.
Yep.
And yeah, it just really let people down from what they expected they were buying.
Actually, it's something curious, and we've talked about this on earlier shows when people ask us to recommend a current luxury sports sedan, is that
It's hard.
It's hard, and we saw that in owner satisfaction, that as
Yeah.
a class, cars that you think people would
Sure.
reward themselves, for a promotion at work or
Sure.
whatever the buying habits may be. Oh, hey, I finally have made it. I'm going to get a 3 Series. I'm going to get a C-Class. I'm going to get a Lexus IS. And a lot of these satisfaction numbers are really kind of mediocre for these cars.
Yeah, well, with the 3 Series, you could say maybe that car doesn't live up to the previous generation of its own 3 Series. But I don't know, you can second guess the reader until you're blue in the face, but...
Well, I mean, we saw it in our test,
Yeah.
again, the
Yeah.
Q50 wasn't that great. The IS isn't that great,
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of these vehicles just don't live up to what they expect. I mean, the 3 Series, I mean, I think it's a nice car to drive. I really do enjoy the 3 Series. I like the C-Class, but the C-Class has not been very good in terms of reliability. But the BMW is holding its own. But again, if you had a 3 Series of the last generation or previous generation, it doesn't quite have the sporty edge that they used to have.
Right, I mean, also you can second guess this forever and say maybe all these people want 5 Series and E-Classes, and that would be their next car,
Well, again, it is expectation. I mean, one interesting one, I mean, if you want to play second guessing,
Yeah.
I was surprised to see the Quest. The Nissan Quest was actually lower in terms of satisfaction than the Chrysler
The Town and
minivans,
Country
the
or
Town
the
and Country.
Grand Caravan.
And I mean, the Quest isn't great, but it's like, is it really worse than those guys? But then again, it's expectation, because the truth is that as you sell these vehicles, I mean, Grand Caravans sell for very low price points.
Right.
They do. So, I mean, if I was spending, I don't know the number, 24 grand, and I get this big van, I'm like, it's
You
pretty,
can do that, yeah.
That's value.
Yeah,
I mean, you could
that's
buy a
value.
Civic for 24 grand, right? The Quests aren't.
But I think what
being sold
happened
at
is,
that price.
I think the Quest, maybe there's a few buyers who look at it and like, I want that Japanese, that Godzilla GoBot style, crazy styling. But there's probably a bunch of people who wanted expectations. If you wanted a Sienna or wanted an Odyssey, they saw a
Right.
Quest.
Well, that's it.
The Quest always has money on it. There's always money.
Right.
There's always incentives.
It may be more expensive than the Grand Caravan, but certainly it's a savings off of a Sienna
it's
or an
like, oh.
Odyssey, but it's not a Sienna or an
No.
Odyssey, and that's the disappointment.
You find that out in the end.
Yeah, like, I guess I should have got the Odyssey or whatever it is.
Right. Speaking of car buying advice, we have a question that I really want to get to. It's from Mr. Sparkle, and I do love the Simpsons reference there. I need advice on what might be a good choice for my 82-year-old mother. She would like something relatively upright and easy to get in and out of. As a concerned son, I'd like her to have the latest active safety features such as blind spot monitoring, forward collision warning, and autonomous braking. Also, parking has never been Mom's strong suit, so parking aids would be very helpful. She prefers to keep the transaction price under $30,000. What would you buy, Mom?
Well, it's a tough one, but Kia Soul, but that stiff ride is
You're not getting the safety
no,
stuff.
you're not getting that. How about a Subaru Forester with the eyesight? Can you fit that under 30?
Yep.
Well, there you go. But does it have any parking assist?
No, parking assist is kind of hard. I
There's
mean,
good visibility with the Forester.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Gabe beat me to it. I would say Forester. And in terms of the parking assist, yeah, okay, there's parking things, but if she's 82, she's probably gonna have an easier time just looking out the windows and trying to figure out how to use these things. You gotta hit the button, and then the steering wheel goes.
I mean, I like using them. Like the cheapest thing's probably an Escape with that.
Yeah, but that's not exactly the safest vehicle. I mean, it doesn't do well in the small offset crash test.
It's also going to be over.
It's going to be unreliable.
It's unreliable, and it's going to be over 30 grand new.
But like I said, it's just don't parallel park and buy yourself a Forester. but again, you know, the visibility, yeah, that Forester it stands out.
Right.
I mean, especially the competition.
No, it's very easy to place the corners of that car.
Right.
Access is terrific. You can get eyesight from owner satisfaction. We know that owners of Subarus are thrilled with being able to get eyesight for affordable prices. The only thing I would suggest is also look at an Outback, because you can get blind spot monitoring on an Outback. You can't get it on a Forester. You lose some visibility though, but you gain in some quietness.
Yeah,
and
and
some
it's got a bigger
niceness.
footprint.
Yeah.
And,
know?
and the owner satisfaction is good on the Forester.
Well, yeah, Subaru did well for owner satisfaction.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
That's going to wrap it up for this episode of Talking Cars. As always, we love hearing your comments, so feel free to send those in. Until next time, thanks.